Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Droppin Knowledge with Noah. Today, we're going to be talking about the changing demographics of buyers and the changing, preferences for those buyers, how they want to buy vehicles in today's marketplace. We're going to go over those different demographics, how they traditionally shop. It's going to be some overlap overall. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Droppin Knowledge with Noah. It's been a little while since I posted a video. I've been traveling all over the country, doing some conventions, doing some speaking events, meeting with dealers. So I really haven't had a chance to sit down and create a video. But today we are going to go over one of the presentations that I did a few weeks ago, talking about how different shoppers buy cars and the different demographics that are out there and how they buy cars and how dealerships can kind of change their processes to meet those shoppers, and also how changes in technology are shaping the marketplace as we see things. So let's dive into it. Tagline here is change isn't coming, it's here, right? We're seeing different demographics buying cars and taking over that, the majority of the buying public, and also technology rapidly changing how people are researching and buying cars. So let's dive in and talk about those demographics. First of all, we'll go over the big three, or actually it's big four. Number one is going to be your boomers, right? These are the folks who are actually kind of aging out of the car buying populace. Everybody thought, hey, it's all boomers who are buying cars. They're the folks with money. And actually, they're only about 20% of the buying public. And the way that they buy is they might do a little bit online, but you're not really going to see a whole lot of them, submitting leads or picking up the phone to call the dealership or starting a deal online. They're usually the ones who are coming into the dealership, pointing at a car and saying, hey, I'd like to buy that today. It doesn't mean we can't optimize that experience and make it more effective and streamlined for them. Next up, we got our Gen Xers and Millennials. And this is crazy. I just learned this the other day. The oldest Gen X person out there right now is 60 years old. And Millennials, right, you'd think, oh, they're the young whippersnappers. Well, actually, no. So I'm a millennial. I'm 41 years old. So we make up the majority of the buying public. About 60% of buyers in the automotive market are Gen X and millennial buyers. So they're your hybrid buyers. They're going to do a lot of research online. They're going to play around with the payment calculators online. They're going to call the dealership or maybe submit a form or even start their deal online. But they do want to come into the store and complete the rest of that transaction in person. Now, next up, we've got the Gen Zs. These are the folks who are, rounding up the back end of this and are going to become more and more of that buying populace as they progress through their careers. They get a little bit more wealth. They make a little bit more money. But these are your digital first buyers, your iPad kids. They've grown up with technology deeply ingrained in everything that they do. So we got to make sure that we're providing a fully digital experience for them. We're hearing about folks who are driving to the dealership and not leaving their car until all the numbers are dialed in and sent to them via, a link. So we got to think about how we can transform our selling process to meet the needs of their buying preferences and not trying to jam them into the old school, writing numbers down on a piece of paper, etc. All right. So what's happening in the space? Well, we see that about 69% of dealers say that customers are driving adoption of digital tools. So we see a lot of customers out there asking, hey, I want to do more of this process online. How can we digitize this? How can I do more of the process at home before I come in? And we can see, right, 65% of shoppers want to do most or all of the purchase online. So that's a big number of people who are kind of asking for this type of technology out there. Now, the other thing that we're seeing in the technology space is AI, right? You can't trip over a log without hearing somebody talk about AI. And it is transforming the market. Now, we're not sure how it's going to transform the market because it's like trying to predict the future with this rapidly advancing technology, but it is, kind of becoming more and more ingrained in everything that we do. And just to kind of put things in perspective, it is the fastest adopted piece of technology out there. So ChatGPT reached 100 million users in just 2 months after launch. So that's faster than TikTok, which took 9 months. TikTok is, the big bad that supposedly runs the entire internet. Took them 9 months to hit 100 million users. Instagram, the old MVP, 2.5 years. And the internet as a whole took over 7 years to hit 100 million users. So AI is getting ingrained in just about everything that we do. And we're seeing lots of different ways that people are using it to shop for cars. So what we're seeing is people are figuring out how to use AI to make the car buying process easier for them. So what does that mean? What does it look like? It's not just, typing into ChatGPT, I'd like to find a 2019 GTI with a manual transmission near me. That's one of the ways that people are using that tool. But we're seeing some advanced users starting to say, hey, here are my financials. This is the type of vehicle that I'm looking for. This is my budget. I want to go and look for a dealership that has good positive reviews. And I want you to analyze any deal sheets that are sent to me and tell me if there's anything fishy going on here, right? So that's where we're kind of seeing AI changing the game, right? You can use AI agents to kind of do the outreach for you and do a lot of the communication for you as a buyer. Also, look through deal sheets that are being sent to you and tell you, hey, you know what, that nitrogen air or nitrogen tires or nitrogen being put in your tires is a waste of money. It's not worth $200 to pay for that. And, that convenience fee is probably not worth it. And here's how you negotiate with it. And it's not people just doing it from their desktop. It's people in the dealership using their phone to, take a photo of that deal sheet that they're looking at and, kind of figuring out what's going on there. And, the other thing too is a lot of people are thinking about, well, how do I make it so that my website is more easily found by these agents and these AI tools? Well, here's the secret. You just got to optimize it for SEO, because what they're doing is they're doing a Google search. They're doing, they're searching on Google. They're not searching on Bing. I was going to say that, but they're using search engines. So if you're SEO optimized, you're doing a good job there, you're going to be okay when it comes to generative AI search. They're just going out there using Google to find you. Now, are things going to change in the future? Potentially, right? So we've got Perplexity coming out with Comet. It's a new AI-powered browser that allows you to kind of do a lot of stuff inside of that browser environment. So, research vehicles, give you answers on, what dealership you should be buying your vehicle from based on user reviews, analyzing deal sheets, all that great stuff right in a browser. We're also seeing, OpenAI doing the same thing. They just came out with, it's not called Apollo, but they just came out with a browser that does a lot of the same stuff. So we're seeing AI being integrated into browsers and allowing shoppers to do more of that. Google's got Gemini built into Chrome now. So if you're paying for Gemini Premium, you're going to see that too. But at the end of the day, right now, if you want to be found by these AI agents, just make sure your website is SEO optimized. And you also want to think about how these AI tools are able to more easily read through deal sheets and turn that confusing bit of numbers into something that's easy for somebody to understand. So the way that I like to think about it is dealerships, or actually customers, are able to use, the power of the T1000 to analyze the deals that you're sending them, analyze the pricing that you're sending them, analyze condition reports that you're sending them to make them far more informed and have a little bit more power on their side. So what we're also seeing, let's take a step outside of the AI realm and just talk about process, right? So right now, when it comes to buying a car, when people come into the dealership, 30% of the time that they spend in the dealership is spent idle. So just waiting, not actually doing anything. And on average, it takes about 2.5 hours to complete a transaction in a dealership. But customers want that to take under 90 minutes. So if we're wasting 30% of that time with somebody just sitting around kind of twiddling their thumbs, that's a big breakdown. That's a big miss on our part. So we got to think about how can we add efficiencies to the process so customers are happier and more likely to buy more cars. So that goes right into these two stats where it says 64% of buyers say that dealerships could be more efficient, and 53% of shoppers agree that they're spending too much time waiting for paperwork, approvals, or just someone to help. So, and what we actually found was people don't mind waiting around if there's value added to it. So a big, part of that non-value added part of the process is, hey, wait here while I go talk to my sales manager. We're going to work on these numbers. And that customer is just sitting there, not sure what's happening. Or, hey, let me go talk to my FA guy. You're waiting around, waiting for the credit application to come through or whatever, right? Those are the times that drive your customers batty and make them want to just leave the dealership. So what we also found, right? 7 in 10 consumers say starting online saves them time. So if they're able to do steps of the buying process online, they're saving time in the dealership. But we also see a big breakdown in the dealership. So 97% of dealers say steps are redone once the customer is in the store. So maybe they calculated their payment, maybe they, put in their trade-in, maybe they put in some other information, but when that salesperson greets that customer and sits them down, they're asking them the same questions that they already answered inside of their digital retailing tool. How much money are you looking to put down? What kind of trade-in do you have? What's your credit score? That kind of stuff. That's already been plugged in online. So there's a big breakdown here. We got to think about how do we train our salespeople to be able to utilize their digital retailing tools and understand the deals that are being submitted and make it easy for them to, get right into that deal and pick up where they left off. Now, what we also found here was that digital deals close at a 2 to 3 times higher rate than traditional deals, and they're doing it without sacrificing gross. Now, we also found when you're looking at your lead forms that are coming from a website, right? Not a whole lot of them are actually coming from a digital retailing tool because, it's additional steps, right? A lot of times people want to, ask a question about the vehicle or just want to come in for a test drive, et cetera. But they close at a much higher rate, they generate higher gross profit, and they have happier customers. So ideally, we want to get as many people into that digital retailing workflow as we can, right? They're closing at a higher rate, generate higher profit, they close faster, and customers are happier. So one of the biggest pro tips that I always talk about, you've heard me say it again and before, and I'm going to say it again, is anytime somebody reaches out to your dealership about a vehicle, hey, does this car have Bluetooth or, heated seats? Is it available? What's your out the door price? That kind of stuff. We want to send them a link to the digital retailing deal because they're basically serving up deals for you on a silver platter, and it streamlines that process. Not only is it going to close at a higher rate, but when they come into the store, you're doing it faster as you can close more deals more quickly. So what we found too is more and more dealers are adopting more digital retailing solutions and tools, right? So in 2023, 39% of dealers offered all purchase steps online. This is not e-commerce. This is what I'm talking about is a digital retailing tool paired with digital contracting. 43% of them were able to do that in 2024. We're going to get the 2025 numbers soon, but we're going to say, it's going to be higher, right? More and more dealers are adopting these tools because we're seeing that consumer demand saying, hey, I want to do more online, and it is more of a buyer's market right now. So we have to adopt our strategies to the needs of that buyer because that's what's going to set us apart from, the other dealer down the street. So really what it comes down to here is customer first is not a slogan, it's a system. Customers are more empowered with AI. They're able to filter out dealers more quickly. They're able to see through your deal sheets more effectively. So you have to be more transparent with it. They want a more tech-forward process. That means they want to do more of the steps online. They want to be able to pick up the steps in the store, or if they're pointing at a vehicle and saying, I'd like to buy this car today, they haven't started it online, you can still make that a digital retailing deal by either starting a deal inside of your digitized retailing tool in the store, or just going into your website, loading up that vehicle and starting it right there. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about customer first. We have to use that technology to improve the customer experience, provide a better overall buying process for them. We can sell more cars for higher gross profit, faster and easier with happier customers who want to come back and buy more cars from you down the road. So, shameless plug. Let's see if we can get into it. Oh, actually, sorry, there's a little bit more of this. So we worked with a number of dealerships who are kind of implementing this digitized retailing process. I'm not going to name this particular dealership in this particular presentation, just for, legal reasons, whatever. But they were a Highline dealer out of the New Jersey area. And the way that they had things set up was they had their sales floor, and then they had the sales managers on a floor above them. So their deal process was when somebody came in, they were writing down numbers on a piece of paper saying, hey, wait here. And then those salespeople would have to run upstairs, hand some numbers to a desk manager. That desk manager would manually go in and plug in those numbers, print out a deal sheet, and then that salesperson would have to run downstairs. Now, what we did was we installed our digitized retailing tool called Deal Central. So what that allowed those salespeople to do is pencil out the deal with that shopper on a digitized experience and basically on a tablet going through all the steps, and then going submit deal, goes automatically up to that desk manager So the salesperson can stay with that customer. They're not having to wear themselves out running up and down stairs. Now, maybe not good for closing out their rings on their iPhone or their Apple Watch, but now they can take them over to the service department and introduce them to service, or take them to the parks counter and check out some accessories, or just explain some F&I products to them while they're waiting. It's a way better experience, and we're not wasting that customer's time with non-value added waiting. So we got rid of that Wizard of Oz feeling is what the dealer said, right? Who's behind the curtain? Who's making the decisions? Now those client advisors, those salespeople were feeling fully empowered. They were able to desk most of that deal and get most of it done, or even pick up where that shopper left off and streamline that process. And the customer felt like they were in more control. And what we found was that dealership felt like they were in more control. So everybody was happier. Now, what we saw was a 10% higher close rate in the showroom. Saw a faster deal finalization, so no more stepping away to print or approve documents. And what we found was a more profitable, more differentiated experience that customers actually enjoyed. So I'm going to dive into this real quick. I'll show you guys what this looks like. This is Deal Central. So this flow chart kind of talks about it a little bit more. So what we're doing is we're focusing on empowering customers, giving insights into the deal, digitizing the paperwork, streamlining trade appraisal, so taking your trade and automatically copying that into a V-Auto so you can run the appraisal and pop that in. Centralized credit decisions, making it easy. Integrations with Darwin, and enhanced customer communication. So we actually have a communication platform in there. So the way that you can think about it is it's a DR tool that lives inside of the dealership that everybody can use. Another way to think about it is collaborative deal making for everyone, everywhere. That's how I like to think about it. So the future really, it favors the dealerships that adapt. We're seeing changes in the demographics. Boomers are aging out. They might be buying their last car ever right now. Millennials, Gen X, they're the people, working the real jobs out there. They're starting families. They have families. They've got kids in college. They are the biggest spectrum of car buyers out there. So we have to adapt our deal-making processes to their needs, which is hybrid right now. Gen Z, they want to do things fully digital, and they want it to be streamlined. They want it fast, and they want it now. They're not the majority of the market yet, but we're going to see them start aging into, having bigger careers with more money at their disposal to be buying new cars out there. And that's where it's a big opportunity for dealerships to update their processes to meet those needs. So that's it for me. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned. We're going to have some more Droppin Knowledge for you guys soon.